So the launch of Dune Awakening is almost upon us, and with that comes the rush of new players getting into the game for the first time. And while the game does have an extremely robust starting guide, which helps you learn how to craft gear and build a structure, and it tells you all about things like the fuel cells and what are all the crafting materials and so on and so forth, there are some additional starting tips that I thought would be really good for solo players in particular who are going to be getting up and going and wanting to make their own way through the desert of Arrakis. If you want to watch this video behind me in full, this is from the beta weekend. You can go watch. I'm just playing my own video in the background because it's the early stages of the game and it's the perfect place to showcase some of what you're going to be going through in the early stages. So there is a very robust tutorial system in the game called the Journey system. This tutorial system is set up for mouse and keyboard and controller. So if you're like me and you play on a controller, you're going to be getting tips and guides to help you play the game as you go along. But let's start off with one of the most important tips that I can give new players out of the gate. In this early tutorial system, they are going to teach you how to craft a respawn beacon. But I noticed in commentary in a lot of my videos and during the stream that a lot of people didn't understand the importance of the respawn beacon. So I want to talk about that a little bit more here. So in Dune Awakening, when you die, you have the option to respawn at a variety of respawn locations, places such as your home base or a trading station. However, if you have not manually set up a respawn point via the respawn beacon, those respawn locations, such as your base or perhaps a trading post, might be all the way across the map from where you had an untimely end. So the game does teach you in the early stages to craft a respawn beacon and what they are. It kind of gives you a brief explanation, but it doesn't ever really go beyond that. So as a veteran player, let me just stress the importance of that respawn beacon. When you are making an adventure and you are going from, say, your home base, you're going across the map, you're going to go to like maybe one of the eco labs or an imperial testing station, right? Make sure that you bring a respawn beacon along and place it at the entrance to that location so that if something happens as you're learning the layout, maybe you unfortunately fall to the denizens of said little dungeon, you're not respawning all the way back at your base because that can be a little bit detrimental. You don't lose any of your gear on death. This is like most other survival games, so you keep your gear, but you do lose some of your hard-earned materials and things in your inventory. You will lose a random amount of those things. It's not so much the loss of those things that could be a pain in the butt as a solo player, but it's more the journey of like, oh crap, I was 20 minutes away from my base, and now I have to respawn all the way back at my base. And if I want to get back to those items, I've got to make it all the way back across the desert. It's much better. Use your respawn beacon. Don't be afraid to place those anytime you're making treks because it will save you a lot of back and forth in the long run while you're exploring areas that you might not know anything about yet while you're on the fly. Probably the second most important tip I can give you is that in the early stages of the game, everybody spawns in the same starting zone called Haga Basin South right there, but it's random where you spawn. So it's going to tell you in the tutorial system at some point, hey, you need to build a base. Like right now it's going through, craft darts, craft a weapon, all those different things. But eventually it's going to want you to build your first structure. One of the big tips I can give you is that before you place that first structure, run around a little bit and specifically looking for these structures right here, all of these pillars of rock and things of that nature. Around the base of these, you're going to find lots of harvestable materials. And in many cases, you're going to be finding scavenged metal as the number one most plentiful thing. You notice that we just ran past the bushes right here. And by the way, here's some dew for water. One of the tips I can give you is that what you're looking for are fuel cells. Look for a location that is near fuel cells, dew. Scavenged metal is not that hard to find, so mostly you're looking for dew as a water source, fuel cells, which are going to run your shields and also power your bike and drive many other functions in your base. And if possible, look for something that's just close to nearby harvesting nodes, specifically the fuel cells and the dew as water sources, but also because you're going to be refining blood for a long time from enemy NPCs to use as water for your home base, to fill your cistern, to fill your leader johns, to fill your still suit until such time as you start to be able to create your own system of crafting water. So fuel cells are really important because they fuel the generators of your base, but they also fuel all of the machines that do crafting and refine ore and everything else. But they also are the batteries for your sand bike. And then enemy camps are where you're going to be finding um, enemies to take out and harvest their blood from them. So, first and foremost, just try to look for a place that has lots of fuel cells nearby because Haga Base and stuff, it doesn't necessarily, not every spawn location when you first get going is going to be close to a ready supply of fuel cells. Generally speaking, there will be lots of like little bandit camps with 2 or 3 bandits that you'll be able to take out. That's of a slightly lesser import. The water is kind of important so that if you need to top up in the middle of your explorations, you have a quick place to do so right outside of your home base. But the fuel cells is important so that you always have a ready supply because those will respawn after you harvest them. And then, of course, nearby enemy camps so that you can always have a fresh supply of water. Um, Things like granite and copper and etc., you'll be able to find those as you run around. So if you can find a location that also has those in the nearby vicinity, that's going to help your early journey out quite a bit in terms of not needing to travel far afield. Um, and in terms of looking for resources. And this is more of an advanced tip, which I don't necessarily think it applies to new players, but if you want to take this tip to heart, you can. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. There is a um, trading post in the starting area. I don't want to give it away in this video because that might be a spoiler for some people. But if you know what I'm talking about, it's not a bad idea to place your starter base as close to that location as possible because of the fact that you will be doing quite a few quests out of that hub as you get deeper into the starting journey of the game. Um, but if you don't mind traveling around quite a bit, which I certainly haven't had an issue with, I ended up building 2 bases in the starter zone because it was like I had one base over here for my early exploration, then I built another base closer um, to the trading post once I moved on. Because it's really easy to just deconstruct your first base, take the materials with you, and set up a new one with the blueprint system. So, um, but that's another video and guide in and of itself. The other thing is that, if at all possible, when you are traveling out and exploring in the early stages of the game, understand that this first zone is 100% about learning how to play the game. You will eventually be told through the journey system that the first base you build, you need to abandon. And that's to teach you, and the game doesn't necessarily do a great job of explaining this. It just, as you're going along, it's like, hey, you need to move forth, build a new base in the next zone, and abandon your old base. What that tutorial is telling you is that you can, in fact, abandon old bases, and in order to get the credit for that first quest, you do have to abandon the old base. But before you do so, you can tear down your existing structure and get back all of the resources that you spent on that structure. So before you move on to the next zone beyond the first zone, and this might be 20, 30 hours into your gameplay, it's going to be a bit if you're just taking your time to explore the game. But when the tutorial leads you to the point where it tells you to abandon your first base, all that really means is abandoning the subfief, or that little device that you place down which claims the land. Don't abandon your actual building. Tear down the building. Tear down all of the refiners, the replicator, the blood harvester, refiner, all of those things. Tear them down and break them down because you get all of your resources back from that. And then you can load up your inventory and the inventory on your bike with those resources and take them to the next zone and very quickly and easily get a second base up and going, and then just abandon the land claim and you're good to go. So I guess those are like three starting tips for those of you who are going to be playing solo. If you're playing group, it's a little bit different because you'll have friends who are going to be helping you to gather resources, and it's going to be less important to worry about, whether you're situated perfectly for fuel cells and harvesting nodes and blood refinery. Because if you're playing with a group of friends, it's a little easier to go around and gather things together. But if you are playing solo, I guess these are three tips to help you get going on starting day, on launch day, which is just around the corner. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. And don't forget to check out all the other guides down in that playlist below. And I will see the rest of you on the sands of Arrakis in just a few short days.